Okay, so we're on the paper 2 now for the November 2014 season foundation tier. In case you haven't looked at the paper 1, the grade boundaries was pretty high for this season. You needed 122 in order to be sure of a grade C. So these are the actual boundaries that breaks down per paper. So you can see here that you need, if you can get everything right, the first 11 questions, then anything beyond that is going to be a bonus towards your grade C. So let's see what these questions are like. Okay, so remember this is a calculator allowed paper, so I'll use my calculator wherever I can just to make sure that you can see what I'm doing. So Toby buys 2 jars of coffee costing $4.46 each, 3 teas, 4 sandwiches. How much does he spend altogether? 4 marks for this question. So it's well worth you spending the time and laying out your working. So I'm going to do 2 lots of 446. I'm going to do 3 lots of 387, 4 lots of 232. So 2 times 446, £8.92. 3 lots of 387, 1161, and 4 lots of £2.32, £9.28. So how much does he spend altogether? I'm going to add those up now. So again, I'm showing, even though I'm using a calculator, I'm showing my method. So 892 plus 1161 plus 928, so £29.81. And part B, Toby pays with 2 £20 notes. So £40, how much change does he receive? Is going to be 40 less £29.81. So I'm showing my method. Okay, now you don't have to type in the £29.81 again. You can use the answer button, which remembers the last thing that was on the screen. So I'm just going to do take away ans equals, and £10.19 is the change. Okay, so the marks for that question. You've got 1 mark for each of the parts really, so you've got 1 mark for each of those, and then 1 mark for your final answer, and then you've got a method mark there for doing the subtraction away from 40, and the final answer mark. Question 2. Circle the quantity that is the appropriate estimate for each of the following. So the weight of a male year 11 pupil. Well, let's just go through these. Kilometers is distance, so it's definitely not that one. Milligrams is a very light measure. It's what you use in science to measure small quantities of chemicals and so on. Grams is a bit heavier than milligrams, but not very. Kilograms is what you're looking for a male. So that one's going to be 65 kilograms. Capacity is another word for volume. So for volume, you should know that it's units cubed. So units squared is area. So it could be that one. It could be that one. But also it could be the 250 litres. Litres is also a measure of liquid capacity. But if you think that a bottle of pop you'd normally buy would be 1 or 2 litres, so that's way too big. That's area. Millimeters cubed is again a very small unit. The one that they're actually looking there for a capacity of a teacup is 250 cubic centimeters. Distance from Dover to Calais, again if we go through them, well, centimeters is what you measure on your ruler. Millimeters is also something you measure on your ruler. Meters is what you would be striding. 1 meter would be one of your paces. So what they're looking for there is the kilometers. And finally, the width of an ordinary house window. Again, you wouldn't have 210 paces, 210 centimeters. Well, if you think of the ruler that you're going to have on your desk in front of you, that's 30 centimeters. So 210 seems about reasonable. 210 millimeters. 210 millimeters is 21 centimeters. So that's a very narrow window. And 210 kilometers is barking mad, because that's probably the distance from Tenby to Swindon or somewhere like that, I would imagine. So what they're looking for there is that one, and the 4 marks, you get 1 for each. Okay, question 3a, another very common foundation tier question. The above shape has been drawn on a centimetre squared grid. Estimate the area of the above shape. So I'm going to tell the examiner how I'm going to do that. Count squares more than half covered. Okay, so that's making it clear to the examiner what I'm about to do, and I'll also mark in the ones that I'm going to include. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61. I'm going for 62. Each square is 1 square centimetre, so sometimes you've got to multiply by a different value, but not in this case. So my estimate is 62. My evidence is quite clear what I've included and why. So you're going to get 1 mark for making sure that it's clear what you're doing, and then 1 mark for any value between 57 and 64. So long as your answer is anywhere within those, then you will get that mark. So total for that first page is 12. Okay, B. Draw all the lines of symmetry on the following shapes. So lines of symmetry are where you could put a mirror and it would reflect exactly. So you can hopefully see there's one there, there's one there as well, and then because there are 4 of them, you've also got diagonal lines of symmetry too. So you don't have to be absolutely exact, because they haven't given you a center, so long as the intention is clear. So a diagonal going that way, I've got a diagonal going that way, I've got my vertical and the horizontal. So that's how many lines of symmetry there are on that shape. And with this one, you're going to have 1 up the middle going that way because it reflects that way, but also you will have 1 vertical line of symmetry as well. So 1 for each of those. Now for rotational symmetry, you're looking to see how many times you can turn that shape and it would look exactly the same. With this one, you could turn it in quarter turns and it would look exactly the same. So that has a rotational symmetry of order 4. With this one, if you turn it through a quarter of a turn, it would look like the letter I. So it doesn't look identical in 4 places. It'll only look identical in 2 when it's turned upside down. So the rotational symmetry of that second one is 2. And again, there's 1 mark for each of those. Okay, if we've got everything right so far, we're on for a G. Here are other very standard questions that come up on the foundation tier in the early part. That one is a cylinder. You might want to call it a tube, but tube isn't a mathematical word. So the mathematical word they're looking for is cylinder. That one, you may be happier if it was turned upside down, and it would clearly be the sort of thing you put a scoop of ice cream in. It's a cone. This, if the line touches the circumference of a circle, touching is a tangent. And the distance from the center of the circle to the outside, the circumference, is called the radius. So those are just terms that you need to learn, and there's 1 mark for each of those. So again, for that page, there are 8 marks in total. Part C. Now sometimes they'll ask you for a parallel line. In this one, they are asking for a perpendicular. Perpendicular means at right angles to. Now the easiest way to do this, I find, is to take one of these lines on your clear ruler, and if you line that up with the one that's drawn, the edge of the ruler is at right angles to the line that's drawn. Then what you do is you need to slide your ruler along until it reaches point C. So that is a line that's perpendicular to AB that passes through C. And just to show off that you know what you're on about, you should know that a perpendicular line is 90 degrees. So put a little box on it to show that you know. Okay, special name. Well, you need to know what an acute angle is, an obtuse angle, and a reflex. Acute is smaller than 90. Reflex is larger than 180, bigger than a straight line, and somewhere between 90 and 180 is obtuse, which is what that one is. The following solid shape is made up of cubes with sides of 1 centimeter. What is the volume of your shape? So if you were to just take that cube there and put it in that missing gap, then you have got a shape which has got 1, 2, 3, 4 in one layer and 3 layers, so it will have an area, a volume of 12. And then it's asking for the units of your answer, so there's going to be a mark for that, and volume is units cubed. So for that question, you'll have 1 mark for 12, and you'll have 1 mark for giving the unit. If you couldn't work that out and you just wrote down centimeters cubed, you would get the 1 mark for putting the correct unit. Some probability then. Choose the best word from those given below to describe the chance of each of the following events occurring. Choosing a day of the week with the letter B in it. Well, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, none of those have the letter B in it, so it is impossible to choose a day of the week with a letter B. No rain falling in Wales during April next year. Well, April is known for its showers. Wales is known to be one of the wetter countries in the UK, so it's pretty likely we're going to get rain. So the chances of no rain falling, it's not impossible, but it's pretty unlikely. Getting an odd number score when a fair dice is rolled. Well, on a 6-sided dice you have 3 odd numbers, 1, 3 and 5, and 3 even numbers, 2, 4 and 6. So you're as likely to get an odd number as you are an even number, which is an even chance. So there'll be 1 mark for each of those. Total for that page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so if we've got everything right now, we're on to, we've already got a grade F. Okay, so now we're on to negative numbers, directed numbers. The diagram shows the cross-section plan of underground caves in a mountain. Taking the entrance level as 0, the Grand Cave is 50 meters above the entrance level, or is at a height of plus 50. The chapel is at a height of negative 20. So on this scale we can see we're going 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So that would be plus 10, 20, 30, 40. And in this direction below the ground we're going to go negative 10, negative 20, negative 30, negative 40, negative 50. Estimate the height of Junction. So Junction is there, is going to be negative 50 meters below the ground. Estimate the height of Grotto. Well, Grotto is probably another 2 of that distance down, so that will be negative 60, negative 70. What is the difference in height between Grand Cave, which is there, and Chapel, which is there? So counting from there to there, we're going 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So the difference is 70 meters. And then between the Junction and the Grotto, so the Junction is there, and then we're going down another 20, so the difference is 20. So for each of those, 1 mark. Question 7. Okay, reading information from a table. The table shows the first class and second class postal charges for large and small letters. So with any table, it's important that you understand what each row and column is telling you before you try and answer the questions. So if we just pick this here, for example, and work out what this is telling us. This is telling us that if we want to send a letter weighing between 101 and 250 grams, first class, then it would be a large letter and it would cost us £1.20. If we wanted to send it second class, it would still be a large letter, but it would cost us £1.10. Here it's telling us how we decide whether it's a letter or a large letter. So that's giving you information about the size of it and its weight. Okay, so Mark is going to buy 2 large letters, sorry, he's going to post 2 large letters, each weighing 230 grams. He buys 2 first class stamps. How much does Mark pay altogether? So large letters weighing 230 grams, well 230 is going to be in there. They're going to weigh 230 grams, yeah, and first class they're going to cost £1.20 each. So he's going to pay 2 lots of £1.20, which is £2.40. Camille posts 3 large letters. The weights of the letters are 75 grams, 400 grams and 650 grams. How much cheaper is it for her to use second class stamps rather than first? So the large letters, one is 75 grams, so the 75 gram one is going to cost 90 pence first class. So if I say first class, second class, the 75 gram one, first class will cost 90p, second class will cost 69p. 400 grams is going to be in this column. So the 400 gram one is £1.60 or £1.40. And then the 650 gram one is going to be in this column. So it's going to cost £2.30 first class or £1.90 second class. And we want to find out how much cheaper. So if I work out now what the total cost is of each of those, I can then take those away So remember now when you are adding these together that 90p there, I've either got to turn all of those into pence or into pounds. So 90p is that in pounds plus 160 plus 230. So your calculator will tell you 4.8 because your calculator doesn't understand that you're working in money. So you've got to make sure that you put that N0, the calculator chops off, back on. So it's going to cost us £4.80 to send in first class. Second class, so 0.69 plus £1.40 plus £1.90 is £3.99. So how much cheaper? So it will be £4.80 less £3.99 equals 81 pence cheaper. Okay, so the marks for that, you're going to get 1 mark for writing down £2.120 and 2 marks if you get £2.40. For this question, you're going to get 1 mark for the £4.80, 1 mark for the £3.99, and 1 mark for taking them away. Okay, there's a part C to this question as well. So let's see if I can fit all the information on. Rebecca has a letter that weighs 550 grams. It has length 23 centimeters, width 18 centimeters, and thickness 0.7 centimeters. She only has 2 £1 coins. Does Rebecca have enough money to post her letter? So first of all, we need to work out whether or not that's going to be a small letter or a large letter. So its length is 24, its width is 18, and its thickness is 0.5. So it's too big to be a letter, a small letter. So let's write that down. So we are looking at large letters, and it weighs 550 grams. So to send it, it's either going to cost £2.30 or £1.90. So weighs 550 grams, so will cost £2.30 first class or £1.90 second class. She's got £2 coins, so she can afford to send it second class. She has £2, so she can afford to send it second class. Okay, so the marks for that: 1 mark for justifying that it's too big to be a small letter, or saying it has to be a large letter. 1 mark for saying that it could be one of those, and 1 mark for justifying it, saying that you can, but it has to go second class. Okay, so if we got all our marks so far, we're safe for a grade E. Right, this is the question on the paper where we have to explain our methods in order to get, out of those 8 marks, 2 of them will be for explaining. So if I get the maths entirely right, but don't put any words, the most I'm going to get is 6. Helen works in a shop. Her normal working week is 35 hours. She's paid £8.74 an hour. When she works for more than 35 hours, she's paid a higher amount for each extra hour she works. Here is her timesheet for 1 week when she was paid a total of £358.34. So Monday she worked 8 hours, Tuesday 7, and so on. Work out the amount she is paid for each extra hour. You must show all your workings. Okay, so she normally works 35 hours, and for those 35 hours she is being paid £8.74. So the first thing we want to do is work out how many hours she's worked this week. So hours worked this week will be 8 plus 7 plus 9 plus 8 plus 7. So writing that down is explaining what we're trying to do, what we're trying to find. We're trying to find out how many hours she has worked. 8 plus 7 plus 9 plus 8 plus 7. So she's worked 39 hours. So her overtime is 4 hours. Number of hours she's worked above 35 is 4. So overtime will be 39 less her expected. Okay, so we know she's worked 4 hours overtime. We know that this week that's how much she was paid. So the next thing we're going to do now is work out how much she's paid for her 35 hours, for her standard week. So total pay for 35 hours will be 35 lots of £8.74. So 35 lots of 8.74, 305, and just like earlier, we need to add the 0 because we're working with money. So £305.90. Okay, so if she just worked 35 hours, she would have taken that home. She worked 4 hours extra and took that home. So if we take those away, we will know how much she was paid for those 4 hours. So pay for 4 hours overtime will be 358.34. Take away 305.90. So 358.34. Take away the previous answer, £52.44. So those 4 hours earned £52.44. So for each extra hour, so pay for each extra hour will be the £52.44 divided by 4, which equals £13.11. Okay, so 8 marks for that. So if you did that, that's a big boost. So how are the marks spread out? You get 1 mark finding out the total number of hours. You get a method mark for doing the 35 lots of £8.74 and an answer mark for correctly working that out to be £305.90. £52.44 gives you a mark, and doing the 52.44 divided by 4 gives you that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you've got your 2 communication marks, which are called Q marks, for setting out how you've organised getting that answer. So total for that page is 11. Question 9. Describe in words the rule for continuing the following sequences. So when you're looking at sequences, usually the starting point is to see if they're going down or up by either the same amount or a similar amount. So if we do 48 take away 12, we get 36. If we do 12 take away 3, we don't get 36. So then we try multiplying or dividing. So because it's going down, let's divide. So if we do 48 divided by 12, we get 4, and 12 divided by 3, hopefully we realise is 4, and 3 divided by 4 is 3/4, which is 0.75. So the rule is divide previous number by 4. Okay, if you'd just written divide by 4, that would have been fine. And with this one, it's increasing. It's not increasing by the same amount each time, but if I do 3 times 3, I get 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So this time, it's multiply previous number by 3. And again, if you'd just written down times 3, they would have given you the mark. Write down the next 2 terms in the following sequence. So looking at this one, 25, it's going down. That's gone down by 1. That's gone down by 3. That's gone down by 5. That's gone down by 7. So it's going down 1, 3, 5, 7. So it's going down in odds. So the next one is going to be down by 9, which is going to give 0. And then the next one is going to be down 11, which is going to take you to negative 11. Simplify this. They're all the same term. They're all A's. So I got 3A, add 6A is 9A. Take away 1A is 8A. Jean rolls a dice many times. She gets a score of 3 on 7 occasions and a score of 4 on n occasions. Write down the total score of these 3s and 4s in terms of n. Well, let's not get too strung out with the n for the moment. Let's work out what we have to do with this. So if they scored 3 on 7 occasions, what would be the total score of rolling a dice 7 times and getting each time 3? Hopefully you're happy that it's 3 times 7. So that would be 3 times 7. And then for this one, well, it must be 4 times n. And then to get the total score, we would add the 2 of them together. We can work out what that is. 3 7s are 21 plus 4n. And that's what they're looking for. 21 plus 4n. So 1 mark for divide by 4, 1 mark for multiply by 3, 1 mark for 0, 1 mark for negative 11, 1 mark for 8a, and for this one there'll be 1 mark for seeing the 4n, or 4 times n, and 1 mark for the 21. Okay, if we've got everything right so far, we're on to a D. Good progress. Exchange rates next. Again, these come up pretty regularly. Usually two parts. Part A is usually turning pounds into euros, or from pounds in to something else, and then going back the opposite direction for part 2. So Laszlo came on holiday to Wales from Italy. Laszlo changed 1550 euros into pounds. The exchange rate was 1 euro is 0.84. So how many pounds did he get? So 1 euro he'd get 84 pence, 2 euros he'd get twice that, 168, 3 euros 3 times that, and so on. So 1550 euros he would get 1,550 lots of 84 pence. Oops. So he would get 1,302 pounds. During his stay, Laszlo spent 798 pounds on his accommodation. He used the same exchange rate to convert this amount into euros. So now we're not going from euros into pounds, we're going opposite. So rather than multiply by 0.84, we'll do the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing. So this time we're going to do 798 divided by that value. So 798 divided by 0.84, so 950 euros. Okay, so for that you're going to get a mark for the right method and a mark for your answer, and similarly here a mark for dividing by 0.84 and a mark for your answer. So total for that page: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so we're getting close to the grade C. Okay, pie chart. Get my angle measurer going. So I'm going to need one of those for this. But most of the marks are for actually working out the angles. Right, so the type of mobile phone owned by each of 240 pupils was recorded. The results are summarized in the table below. Okay, so the first thing you do is you know that that pie has got 360 degrees. And each of these people are going to have an equal slice of the pie. So the first thing you do is size each person for what I normally call it. So each pupil would be 360 divided by 240. So on your calculator, 360, oops, divided by 240, 1.5 degrees. So each of these 240 pupils is going to be worth 1.5 degree slice of that pie. But we don't need to put it into 240 slices because we know that 100 of the kids got A. So the size of slice A is going to be 100 lots of 1.5 is 150 degrees. B, 64 pupils, so that's going to be 64 lots of 1.5. 96 degrees. 40 lots of 1.5 for type C. And finally 36 lots of 1.5. 54 degrees. So you've worked out all your angles. Now we've got to draw the pie. So usually we start straight up, doesn't matter, but that's our first slice. So our first slice is 150 degrees. So you get your angle measurer, you put the center of the angle measurer on the center of the pie, and you line 0 up with our first slice. So we need 150 degrees, so if I go around the outside of the protractor, I'm going to go round as far as there. Put a little dot. So that's type A. Now for type B, we need to measure 96 degrees. Now it's important, the really common mistake that people make here is they forget to turn their measurer, and they measure again 96 degrees from the start. But we want a new slice now, so we turn the measurer, so 0 is at the start of the next slice, and then we measure 96. So 90 is there, 95 is there, 96 just beyond. That's type B. Then we've got 60 degrees, so again we turn the angle measurer to the start of the next slice. There's your 60. That's type C, and the one that's left, we don't have to worry about measuring it, is other. So there you go. So it's really straightforward. You divide 360 by whatever the total of the data comes to. Usually it's given. If it didn't give it you, you could add those up. That gives you how much angle each of the people in the survey get, and then you multiply that by each of your groups. Okay, so for those 4 marks, there are 1 mark for each angle that's calculated and drawn. So if you get that right and everything right so far, you've got your grade C. So let's finish with this question, and then I'll start another video clip. So each girl in year 8 chose her one favourite sport. 1/7 of the girls chose football, 4/7 of the girls chose volleyball. The rest of the girls, 30 of them, chose hockey. How many girls are there in year 8? So what they're doing here is they're flipping from fractions to actual quantities. So we're measuring year 8 into sevenths, 1/7 and 4/7. So the girls that chose hockey must be the remaining number of sevenths. So we got 1/7 plus 4/7, so that's football, that's volleyball. So what's left must be hockey, and the total must be 7/7. So 1, 5, that must be 2. So 2/7 must equal 30. The fraction for hockey is 2/7, and that's 30 girls, which means 1/7 must be half of that, which is 15. How many girls are there in year 8? Well, if 1/7 is 15 girls, all of them would be 7/7, which would be 15 times 7, 105 girls. So first of all, you need to understand that if we're talking about sevenths, the whole school or the whole of year 8 must add up to 7/7. So 4, 6, 7/7. So that means hockey must be 2/7, and they're telling you that that is equal to 30 girls. So if 2/7 is 30 girls, 1/7 would be half of that, and then all the girls would be 7 lots of 7s, which is 15 times 7, 105. Okay, marks for that one. So you've got 1 mark or 2 marks for getting down as far as 2/7. So basically by making sure they all add up to 7/7. 1 mark for 15 girls for 1/7, and 1 mark for the 105 girls. So total for that page is 8, and we're on to the grade C. So if you're happy with that work so far, that's great.